Welcome to the Ozone. I'm Robin Trimingham of the Olderhood Group, and my guest today is Marion Karr, who is Managing Director of Healthcare and Life Sciences for Comhar Partners. Welcome, Marion.
Thank you. Good to see you, Robin.
Well, it's great that you could find a few minutes to chat with me today. I know you're very passionate about the need to nurture an accomplishment culture as a leader. So what is your definition of the accomplishment culture?
Well, thank you for that question. I love that question. Really, the accomplishment culture is this idea that every person within the organization, no matter what level of role that they play, have an impact and are part of the collective in terms of achievement, and that each one of their achievements, if you will, their micro achievements, whatever they do, when they get to work on that interface with that first customer or that first patient, in my case, is part of the collective. The goal with the concept is the idea that the organizational leadership cultivates an understanding that everybody has value. Mm-hmm. And that each day they make a difference. And that's really what the whole model is about.
So that's really from the moment you walk through the front door of the building, wherever it is that you work.
Yeah, absolutely. And how each individual, no matter what role they play, impact the collective achievement of the organization. And there's personal gain for their growth. It's personal gain for the individuals that are being engaged. And even in the case of the people that they're serving, there is a value to having people focused on what matters and doing the right thing. And so that's what it's really about.
Now, COVID's changed how a lot of people are working and leading. For people like me in the private sector, we're working from home and we're struggling with how do you lead in that sort of an environment. How has this changed leadership in the healthcare industry?
It's been pretty dramatic. I've been in the industry for 30 years, and obviously we've never seen anything like this.
Right.
But it reminds me a little bit about what organizations had to do post 9/11, right after 9/11, mm-hmm. where everybody was under a tremendous amount of stress. Everybody was not sure of the future. And the best leaders then were the ones who increased the frequency of their communication, took the time, even though there was so many things going on, to talk to their team to make sure that they were doing well. And in healthcare, particularly when a lot of people went remote, the leaders that went remote, not the people delivering care, that was a whole different world. It was really necessary for leaders to up the frequency of their communication and be more intentional about what they were saying and what they were asking. And one of the things I think it's positive that came out of that is hopefully that'll carry back over as people are starting to come back, that there's that communication. And from a leadership perspective, it allows one, if you take that approach, to be even more engaged as opposed to less engaged, which is what that environment created.
So with everything going on and the immense pressure of the pandemic, what are some of the things that are holding leaders back or they're finding challenging at the moment?
If they're leading labor intensive programs, nursing, hospital operations, et cetera, there is a gap in terms of available staff, right? So they're having to deal with finding people to come to work and managing that. But and then there's logistics of issues around supply, which hopefully have been resolved. Mm-hmm. But if you think about it, the supply chain got really exposed last year.
Yeah.
When all of a sudden we didn't have any PPE, we didn't have any products. And like, oh man, we've been exposed. But I think on a more emotional intelligence driven, people are under dramatic stress mm-hmm. Across the board. And I think the biggest challenge of leaders is not to lose sight of their teams from that perspective. They're trying to address all these other problems: supply chain, staffing, patient acuity, all those different pieces. But in fact, one of the biggest challenges they're facing right now is internally their teams are struggling. So I think that's the big thing in my mind.
Now, I did some research on you and the accomplishment culture, and I came across a talk that you gave that I just loved, where you were talking about how exceptional leaders have to figure out how to walk the line between perseverance and obstinates. So tell us how that applies to everything that's going on right now.
I love that question. One of the thought leaders that I've followed in terms of behavioral science is a gentleman named Dr. Elias Porter. And his theory of relationship awareness says that we own a set of skills that we love to use to support our self-worth. And the ones that we place the most value in are the ones we use most frequently and that we rely on. They become who we are in a sense. But he also says there's this other side of that strength that becomes our perceived weakness. So perseverance, for example, I think is my number one trait. And I believe I've overcome a lot of obstacles. I've been very successful despite a lot of challenges. But when I overdo that strength, it becomes obstinate. It looks like I'm stubborn. So the really great leaders understand how to leverage their strengths to the point of really impactful experiences, but they also have to understand that if they go down that road too much or hold on to that strength too long, that it's going to be a perceived weakness. In the world of healthcare, that move for being persevering and holding on and really focused on what you're trying to achieve, when it turns into that's all you're focused on and you're missing out all the other things that needs to happen and how you're communicating and how you're driving your team and how you're engaging, then it becomes a problem. So that's really why that's such an important piece to me, because that's who I am in some ways.
Yeah, I saw an interview with another doctor recently where they talked about the need to come to work with an incredibly open mind, because you just never know what you're going to encounter throughout the day. So I guess perseverance in seeing everything through in the best possible way, but being flexible enough to accept a variety of outcomes.
Absolutely. And I think adaptability has really set those senior leaders and even throughout management, adaptability, when they can be adaptable, when they can see an opportunity to make a difference that's different than they normally would see, and take advantage of that in a positive way or change how they think about things. And how they go about it. Those are the ones that are really making a difference now. And I think moving forward, being able to be adaptable, open, and open-minded. I love that quote. Just being open-minded. What am I going to face today? And what can we learn from it? And how can we make things better?
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Marion. You've been watching The Ozone. Join us again soon.